Okay, it is now 6:30, and I'd like to call this meeting of the Community Development Committee to order. While this meeting is being held in person, we are also offering the option for the public to participate through Zoom if preferred. Instructions on how to attend virtually are included in the City Council calendar item listed on the front page of missionkansas.org. The public is also invited to participate in the meeting. If you're participating through Zoom, please either add your comment to the chat feature and it will be read out loud, or note that you would like to speak and we will call on you shortly to make your comment verbally. Please remember your comments or questions are visible to everyone in the meeting. If you're a part of our in-person group tonight, please raise your hand, but stay seated and we will call on you to go to the lectern to make your comment. When you make your comment, please state your name and city of residence for the record. Also be conscientious of others trying to speak and speak slowly and clearly. This meeting will be recorded and posted to the city's website at missionkansas.org. Please contact the administrative offices at 913-676-8350 with any questions or concerns. Ms. Folks, please call the roll.
Hayden Champosi.
Here.
Vaughn.
Here.
Ryard.
Here.
Hermosa.
Here.
Kring.
Here.
Schmid.
Here.
Carpenter Davis.
Here.
Tosi.
Here.
Okay, our first item of business tonight is public comment. Is there any member of the public who would like to comment now on an item not on our agenda tonight? Please note, public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Seeing none? Public presentations. We have one public presentation this evening, an update on the activities of the Consolidated Fire District Number 2 from Chief Steve Chick. Come to the podium.
Is that loud? Can you hear me? Okay. So first of all, thank you all for having me tonight. I'm excited to be back and have an opportunity to speak with you. I met with Laura a while back and indicated that I felt like one of the things that would be important for us this year is to have more of a presence with your body and share more information about the fire district and what we're doing for the city of Mission and our other cities. Tonight, I'd also like to make a quick introduction. Our board member who represents the city of Mission has joined me tonight, and Sarah Sanders.
Nice.
So Sarah's a resident of Millhaven, and she represents the city of Mission. So if she's very involved, she's very engaged in what we're doing, has been a super advocate for the community, and if the community has questions and things, Sarah's available to answer in addition to me. So she's here tonight in support and if there's any questions for her. But tonight I passed out a printed packet. I apologize for not getting this in time for the packet to come out the other day. But the first page, which is the multicolored graph on the front, what I want to do is talk just a little bit about 2025 year in summary. And then as I begin to report to you on 2026 for like the first quarter, second quarter and beyond, what we're seeing with call trends and call volumes. So what we've seen since 2010 is a significant increase in call volume. We've seen 60% increase in that period of time. Really good things going on in the community, but it means we're a lot busier. And so as you can see, EMS calls outpace the fire incidents, thankfully. I will tell you, Mission has been a little bit of an outlier. We've had some substantial fires in Mission over the last year, and so that's something. And our prevention divisions actually sat down and talked about like, hey, are there things we could be doing? But as another outlier, we've had more intentional fires in Mission in the last year than we've had in the district in probably the last 5. And so it's that's troublesome to us. We think there's a little bit of a mental health component involved in that. And so that's something we're trying to keep an eye on and be aware of. And then just freak things like the home explosion that we had a few months ago was we haven't had one of those in many years, and it was just a very, very different type of an incident. But on the whole, our EMS incidents is where we're getting all of our business. We've got a lot of EMS calls, and we're doing a lot of medical work in the area. So overall, this black, this first graph that you're seeing here, this is the district as a whole. All right, this is all of CFD2, and so what you're seeing is that we're running over 6,000 calls a year. and that, a significant percentage of those are EMS, but our fire calls over the last couple of years have been increased, and it's not just Mission that's experiencing that, that's the whole district. And so we're working on things. One of the things that my board has encouraged me to do is work on our messaging through social media and trying to make more contact with the community and delivering some safety tips, reminding people to change their smoke detector batteries, reminding people about their their carbon monoxide detectors and those kind of things. And so we're gonna work really hard at increasing that level of messaging and the communication we have with the community as a whole. So the next page, what you'll see is these are metrics that are specific to the city of Mission. And so you've got a history from 2022 to 2026 here. And then of course, 2026 is only a fraction of the first quarter. But what you probably will notice is that as Mission has more going on, then we run more medical calls, right? And fortunately, we run 2 rigs out of Station 21, and so we're able to have redundancy and catch those back-to-back calls and take care of the community in a timely manner. One of the things that you'll see a little bit later in this presentation is that we also are shifting the way that we report some of our metrics. And we used to report average response times, which they're really great because we can stack them all up and it gives us a number that's pretty impressive. Most of the time we can respond to calls in 4 or 5 minutes average. But as an international standard, what the fire service is doing is moving to a 90th percentile. And the reason that they're doing that is that we're looking for that 90% of the calls that are what we expect. But when you get to that 90th percentile and they were on a house fire or they were, had something else going on, how long did it take for that rig that was coming from somewhere else to get to your emergency? And so those are some things that you'll start to see. Right now, we're reporting averages in 90th percentiles because it's a drastic shift in the data that's delivered. But over time, as we normalize the 90th percentile, then we'll quit reporting the average data and we'll begin to report what is the standard in the fire and EMS industry throughout North America. So, these are Mission incidents by year. Obviously, we're running over 1,000 EMS calls a year in 2025. We broke that threshold pretty steadily, and we all know that Mission's got a lot going on. We've got new residents and we've got more housing in this area than what we used to. And from what I understand, that's not going to stop anytime soon. And so those are things that we'll continue to be paying attention to those metrics and making sure that we're delivering the kind of results and responses that the residents in this area deserve and are due. So, excuse me, that next fractile performance by station is really just split up among our 3 stations. Right now, Station 21, and this ebbs and flows a little bit each year, but Station 21 is our least busy station out of all 3. I think what the reason for that is that Station 23 and Station 22 have a massive population area that they're serving in Prairie Village. And so what happens is they both get pulled into the center of that core. And so they're just running more calls. The other thing is we have more care facilities in that area than we do in the city of Mission. And a substantial number of those calls come from nursing homes, assisted living, and those types of incidents where other than a couple of addresses here, 6050 Broadmoor, and a couple of those, Mission is pretty unique to residences versus multi occupant care facilities. And so
Chief, would you just share with the council what the location of, I know that Station 21 is on Martway, but can you tell them where the stations are, please?
Thank you, Laura. That helps. And I apologize. It's so natural to me to talk about it that I should define that for you. So Station 21 is at 6400 Martway. It's right down the street here. Station 22 is at 63rd and Mission Road, and then Station 23 is down at 78th and Mission Road. And I think that what I was just saying, and before Laura pointed that out, and I'm glad that you did, because it really helps kind of cast some light on what I'm reporting to you. The south part of the district, down there by Meadowbrook and where we're dealing with a couple of care facilities, it really bumps our call volume. And so that Station 23 is by far our busiest station right now, and largely related to the care facilities that are down there. So they run everything from the 7105 Mission Road nursing home south to 95th Street. So all those care facilities are pretty much in Station 23's area. Now, when they're busy, if they're down at Meadowbrook at the new assisted living or at the nursing area down there, then Station 22 has to pick up like 7105 Mission Road and some of those. And that's why you see that imbalance between Station 21 and 22 and 23 is that they're carrying the load in the elder care facilities. And so, yes, ma'am.
I had a question about the EMS calls because you seem to be, referencing increasing population or, Mission having a lot going on in the rising EMS calls. Do you guys track by age to sort of sense kind of related to what you're saying to those care facilities, how much is due to an aging population versus a population increase or?
Yes, and we'll have some even better metrics. We have a new data system that we're implementing right now that is going to give us metrics like you have never seen before. What we're going to be able to deliver to you is very concise and a clear picture of what's going on throughout the district and specifically in the city of Mission. So I'm excited about that. There is some information in here that's referencing some of those calls, and I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. But Mayor, that's a great point. And I would say this. In Northeast Johnson County, we're learning one thing, and that is every home could be a nursing home. Everybody knows that people's largest investment in their life is probably the home that they live in. And a lot of people are trying to stay in their homes as long as they can. And so we're seeing an increased call volume specifically in some of the older generations because they're staying sheltered at home much longer. And so we'll have some better metrics for you and be able to share that with you soon.
Can I just ask a quick question?
You absolutely can.
Difficulty with all the street work that's being going on? Do you have alternative plans when you go out so you're not hitting a dead end?
Yeah, we have alternative plans, and sometimes, so the communication's really pretty good. Our cities are trying to do a good job of sharing with us when they've got road closures and what they are. We have those, so we copy the Emergency Communication Center for Johnson County, and the CAD manager will actually go in and close those roads so that when we get in the truck and we hit a route so we can see where we're headed to. Now we know our district. We wouldn't have to have a computer to get there, but it's hard to keep track of all the road closings. And so that they have a habit of hitting the route button. And if that CAD manager has gotten the information in a timely manner, that gets put in there and it'll tell us an alternate route around that. And so now we know those routes, but it's a nice reminder at 2 o'clock in the morning when you just woke up, right? And so, no, that's a great question. And I'm thankful for our partnerships with our cities because we get a lot of information from Public Works and from the city staff about, hey, this is going to be closed and this is the period of time. And even Johnson Drive with all the work that's been going on over there, just west of Broadmoor, the nice part about that is we're getting regular updates like, hey, the westbound lanes are going to be a problem tonight. And so we're able to let our crews know so that, when they're going out in the middle of the night, they're not surprised by it. And so, yeah, that partnership's fantastic.
And Chief, I might be jumping the gun again by another data question.
Yeah.
Do you also track the difference between residential and commercial calls?
We do. Yep. And that's not just done on EMS, but that's done with fire as well.
Okay.
Yep. So, yep. And so what we're learning is our reporting system has data points that are fantastic. But mining those metrics and getting that data is really crucial. And we've got through our strategic planning process, we have partnered with a new company that actually Medac's using their technology as well. And it's helping us mine that data so that we can give more concise reports to our partners. So as you go forward here, when we move on and we talk about this is something that comes out in our quarterly report. It's a fire activity report for the fourth quarter of 2025. And this is cumulative for 2025. So you can see we had an increase in calls overall in the city of Mission. This is specific to the city of Mission, not just in the fire district. And we've had an increase in the fire calls and the EMS calls. So it's not just EMS calls that are yeah. So now I will tell you one thing that we're doing is we have fallen under a new federal mandate for a reporting system that's called NERIS. It's the National Emergency Response Information System. And so we've switched to NERIS which is a federal mandate. We have to deliver those reports on a monthly basis to the feds. But in doing so, the conciseness or the ability to really pick what we're going on is much better. This is one of the few positives that we get out of a mandated reporting system, is that it used to be what we were sent on might not have been a fire call, but we get there and we find it's a fire call. There was no way to change the outcome of that call in the old reporting system, which is in FERS, the National Fire Reporting System. So the 29 from 2024, probably if we were on the same new reporting system, would have been a little bit higher too. Yes, that would have been a higher number. And so what we're learning is our crews can actually identify the kind of call that they arrived on, not just what they were dispatched on. And that's what's really important, is what was the call that we went to, not really what we were told we were going to. So special ops would be things like an extrication or a rope rescue, or some sort of a technical rescue or issue that, and it could even be with a resident. Some of the special ops stuff would be around down power lines and things like that, and mitigating those problems. And so there's a lot that goes into that special ops area, but the biggest part of it is rescue related. And those aren't necessarily, there's not necessarily a fire present, but our people are delivering some sort of a rescue tactical response.
So why is that different than all other calls?
So other calls might be things like, is it a carbon monoxide detector going off? So like we get called for things like lift assists, and we get called for things like my basement's flooding. Can you come help me? And we go shut the water off. But what happened was the hot water tank ruptured, right? And so like those are other calls that weren't necessarily a medical, fire, or special operations emergency, but it still needed to be mitigated.
So who enters the data? The fire person that's
So
on the call?
For every call we run, there has to be a report tied to that call that explains what we were dispatched. Now it explains what we were dispatched to, what our response times are, what we found when we arrived on scene, and then what our actions were to mitigate the emergency or the issue that
So
we were.
you've got pretty good inter-rater reliability. All the people know all the definitions and they all rate every, okay.
It's fantastic. And so the crews write the reports, and it's usually the person who's most involved in mitigating the problem. And then the officers and the battalion chiefs review and sign off on those reports to make sure they're
It's a
accurate.
double look.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
checks and balances in there too. So, so what you'll see at the bottom of this, the response time breakdown, is what I was talking about earlier, that the 2025 average versus the 2025 90th percentile. You'll see those numbers are different. And that's because for the average, what you're doing is you're piling all those responses up and you're dividing them by the total number of responses, right? And you get an average response. But the 90th percentile takes that 90th percent call and says, what level were we delivering in 90% of our calls? And so the reason that the 90th percentile might be longer is that units from, for instance, our station on Martway might be on a call where they're together, and there's lots of calls that are like that, water flow alarms, house fires, code blues, traumas, extrications, those kind of things. Those are 2-unit calls. And so what that means is somebody is coming from outside of this station's area from one of the other stations. And so you might see that the 90th percentile is a longer response because that's what it took to truly get to that patient. And so but 90th percentile is the standard in North America and actually becoming internationally for metrics. And we want to be consistent with those reporting metrics as we move forward.
I'm sorry. I'm unclear as to how you get a 90th percentile.
So in simple terms,
Uh-huh.
what you would do is you'd look at, if we had 100 responses, we'd pick out number 90 in the list. And that response time is what is reported as reliability. So 90% of the time we can respond within 1 minute and 50 seconds. Okay, or turn out within 1 minute and 50 seconds. 90% of the time we can turn out for an EMS call in 1 minute and 43 seconds. But the average time obviously is a lot closer to 1 minute. what we're looking at is when you look at a whole list of calls, the reliability of 90%, 90th percentile is where are we able to perform 90% of the time?
Okay, thank you.
So, you'll see travel times. That's where you see differences. Like the turnout time between the stations, they all turn out pretty fast. They'll get dressed and get in the fire truck pretty quick. But travel times are something that's a little bit different. And the reason that the travel time's longer for fire is it's looking at all the units that are responding to that fire. So Station 21 at Martway might be there really quick, but they don't get credit for that 90th percentile until we get those units on scene. And that some of those may be coming from 78th and Mission Road, or maybe coming from even Merriam or Overland Park. And so it's really an objective look at 90% of the time, what is your performance rather than an average? And the average gives you a much lower value.
Could
So
you-
it looks great, but it's not really a good representation of what your reliability is 90% of the time.
Could you give the 90th percentile of like first truck on scene? Like, would you guys be able to pull that
We would be
data?
able to do that now
Yeah.
because the new system allows for that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That might be helpful.
Yeah. No, we're pretty excited about the data we're going to be able to bring to the table in the future for sure. So, lots of, and I could go all day. I can talk about data in our fire department for days, but I don't want to bore you guys. I will tell you this. Mission is unique. It's busy. It's, there's a lot of things happening. And the calls, I believe, what I've seen in the data is that the calls in Mission are likely most centered around residential responses, whether those are multifamily or whether those are single family. But, and like I said earlier, just to reinforce the calls that we're seeing in the south part of the district, there's a very heavy reliance on us from the assisted care facilities and the nursing facilities. But your calls are truly unique to, individuals and whether they be businesses or residences, they're not, the lion's share is not the care facility. We're going to people's homes or businesses. So, and then the last page here is just kind of a representation of the days of the week that are most busy and what time of day. And so what we see is that Wednesday and Thursday during the day are really busy. The darker blue at the top of that graph on the top of the page is our nighttime calls. So Sunday nights are busiest nighttime, followed by Wednesday and Thursday. I was surprised by that when we looked at the data because I really thought it'd be Friday and Saturday nights, but it's not. It's Wednesday and Thursday, and then Sunday night is by far our busiest overnight. And so,
What do you attribute that to?
I don't know that we know enough about it yet. We're going to study that data and learn about why. I think that one of the things I asked our division chief of systems and initiatives is like, can we identify what those calls are so that I can start figuring out what the cause is? Like that would be interesting to know. Maybe that nobody wants to go to work on Monday, but so, but we're going to look into that, and I'm excited to do it because we now have capabilities that we haven't had. So, so what we're seeing is that Sunday, Wednesday, and Thursday are our busiest days in the city of Mission, and this data is specific to the city of Mission. So, and then the incident count by the hour of the day is just a little bit different. It's a line graph showing. It's interesting that. If you look at that across the district, and I didn't put it in here, but it's a lot more smoothed out because the calls, the number of calls you're talking about smooth that curve in this graph out, but it's a little bit more spiky in the city of Mission because when you take out just the city's data versus the whole district, it kind of becomes a little more spiky. But what we're learning is that the busiest part of our day is between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. And that even though there are busy times at night, the noon or 1 o'clock hour is really, really where we're getting a lot of calls. And so that's all interesting stuff to us. There's a peak also around 5 o'clock, which I think we can attribute to car accidents and things like that. So, that's the traffic hour, and that's when things get a little bit crazy. So
That you can kind of see that because 8 to 5 is when we have people come in.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so we have those people who are not residents.
Yep.
So that kind of makes sense, the population increase.
Population certainly increases, right? So, and then the last graph you'll see here is the number of lift assists that we've run over the last several years. And you can see that's going up. And lift assists are largely people who have, you know, some sort of deficiency or need some sort of assistance. They've fallen, they can't get themselves up. Often we find that it's, you know, an elderly couple and you know, the one of them falls and the other one's not strong enough to get the other one up. And so they call us. Well, that's why we're here, right? We do that. Now, we also track metrics on who of those people are calling a lot. And we have had people who literally we get 3, 4, 5 calls a week. And so we have a program through the county. The medical director's office initiated it a number of years ago, and it's worked really well. And what we do is we report those types of calls, the repeated calls, to the medical director, and then they get a county outreach nurse involved to make a call on the resident and say, hey, are there any resources that we can help you with? And, you know, it appears that you're utilizing, you know, 911 a lot, and we want to make sure that you don't fall and break a hip, because that changes the outcome drastically, right? And so there's a push to try and get the community outreach nurses involved in helping find resources for these folks who are trying to stay around their homes longer. So that's but what we're seeing in that is a substantial increase. That is City of Mission alone, but it's not just the City of Mission. We're seeing that everywhere. And so the call for us to come and help people on a lift assist basis is increasing. And I will tell you for sure that that's attributed to people staying in their homes longer and probably just not understanding what some of those resources are available. There's a lot of stuff that we've been able to, I'll tell you that our worst case scenario was a couple of years ago in Mission. This is a success story, even though it ended up making the people not be a you know, residents of the City of Mission. It was a mother and daughter lived together in the city, and we were going on calls at their house all the time. And we were really worried about them, like legitimately worried, because the mother, who was in her 90s, was taking care of the daughter who was in really bad health in her 70s. And she really was going to end up hurt. Like the level of care that she was having to try and deliver is not reasonable for a 90-year-old woman. And so we ran calls repeatedly there, and they were fearful that they would get separated. And I understand that, right? I mean, that's an uncomfortable thought. And so we tried to refer them through the medical director and to the community outreach nurses, but they would never let the community outreach nurses come visit because they were afraid that we were going to force them to separate. And so the Johnson County Mental Health and the community outreach nurses had a collaboration where they had somebody that was coming out and going with us on some of those calls. And at that time, the representative from the county, her name was Celia Moya. She was fantastic. And so what she did is she started paying attention to when we were running those calls, and then she piggybacked with us, because as long as she comes with us, she can come and assess the problem and see if there's anything they can do. Well, what she was able to figure out was that, like, hey, I understand their fear of being separated, but there's solutions for that. And so they did some testing with the community outreach nurse and figured out they really shouldn't be living on their own, and it was becoming a danger. And so what they did is they found them an assisted living facility together where they could move into a home together and still stay together. So it was a huge success story, but it took some time to work through that. We're finding that more and more often now, just because the community's aging and we got people trying to stay in their homes. So it's not our desire to try and move people out of their homes and, you know, move them into a nursing facility unless they need to be. But if they're getting to the point where falling and repeatedly falling is going to be a danger to them, and the statistics on that is if you're over 75 years old and you fall and break a hip, your mortality increases by like 65%. It's really bad. And so we try to look at that from a perspective of, can we lengthen their life by showing them different resources? And so, so that is in a nutshell some of the data that I wanted to present to you tonight coming out of 2025. You're going to see more of me. You're going to see more data. And I love the questions. Thank you very much. And I appreciate the interest in what we're doing. And I'm happy to stand for any questions that you all have.
I want to know where you are on the PFAS issue.
The PFAS issue. Thank you. So I will tell you that we have been very proactive with trying to figure out what to do about PFAS. So for those of you who may not know what really PFAS is, they're polyfluoroalkyl substances. They're chemicals that are directly linked to cancer in in the general population, but specifically firefighters, because the gear that we wear is loaded with PFAS. And when we're out there sweating, our pores are opened up and we're soaking in the PFAS. So about 2 years ago, they started coming out with gear that had significantly reduced PFAS levels. And this last year, they've got it reduced to the point that there's a nominal amount of the PFAS still in some of the gear that's being built, but we are switching to clear, is what it's called, CLEAR, clear gear. And it has such a fractional amount of the PFAS in it that they can call it PFAS free now. And so the nice part about it is that the vapor barrier, which is on the inside of our gear, insulates us from any of the PFAS in the outer layer. Now we still come in contact because our faces and our hands get in contact with the gear, but it's reducing the risk significantly. I will tell you that it costs more. I mean, the gear costs more, but our board's been very supportive. Sadly, didn't happen fast enough. One of my short story that one of my firefighters, very tenured firefighter, over 15 years with us, he was down at the lake with his family, and he was loading his boat up, and he slipped and knocked himself out. And he would have potentially drowned if a bystander hadn't been there and pulled him out. And his wife took him to the emergency room, and when they did the CAT scan to verify if he had a head injury, they discovered a brain tumor. And so the type of brain tumor he has is directly related to PFAS. And so he has undergone significant amount of treatment in the last year, both surgery, radiation, and then chemo following. The good news is that right now he's in remission and he's back on a fire truck and he's doing his job, and thankful that he is. But we're very serious about addressing PFAS and trying to figure out how to get our people away from that stuff.
So been an agent in the foam that's used to put fire.
So we don't use a lot of foam. Yeah, and our tactical approach to firefighting doesn't use a lot of foam. We air to effective water and ventilation, putting it on the seat of the fire rather than just spreading a lot of foam around. And so we don't have a lot of that exposure because we don't use the foams.
I may have some information for you on a possible grant.
Oh, wonderful.
Fast data.
Love it.
Through Black and Beach. We met at the National League of Cities. So I will get you the information.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. I'm just making a note so I don't forget.
Chief, I had a question on the lift assist.
Yes,
Do
ma'am.
those fall under the EMS category? If we're looking at the bigger category, where did they go?
So those are under, hold on just a second, let me look at that. Those are under other.
Okay.
Yeah. And the reason is not every lift assist has an injury. If there's not an injury, we wouldn't report it as an EMS call. Yeah. So we're trying to segregate EMS calls for true medical emergencies versus a lift assist, which is really just more of an assist call. Yep.
Ben?
So.
I just have an organization. Was somebody else asking a question?
Yeah, if I can jump in. So Chief, thanks for coming and appreciate all this data. I was curious with the way the calls are spread out between the different stations and the service areas and the different call patterns, especially, and travel times and EMS and non-EMS. Is that something that the district kind of looks at as necessitating changes in strategy and capital allocation? I know Overland Park went to this kind of squad house model for some of these reasons. How's that looking on CFG2's part?
Great question. And it's looking like we're in the middle of an initiative to start a standard of cover.
Mm-hmm.
And what the standard of cover does is it looks at our responses everywhere in the district. It identifies the responses that are outside of what we would like to see in that first response area.
Mm-hmm.
And then we look at ways that we could mitigate that exactly like you're talking about.
Okay.
Like, is there a possibility to do, put a squad house and what would that look like? And what are the costs involved? And is the cost trade-off worth, investing in? And so, standard of cover is getting ready to happen right now with the new data that we're getting. And then following along, we're going to do a new strategic plan as well, which we're going to engage some stakeholders, not just with the cities, but with the community, residents and business owners. And we'll have stakeholders come in and be involved in that strategic plan.
Awesome. Yeah, I know I've seen a lot of the use of the smaller apparatus, and I don't know much about fire coverage and all that, but it just seems like it makes a lot of sense given these graphs that I'm seeing, So
right.
awesome
The
to
challenge
see.
that we have is that we, in order to meet, we're an ISO rating of a 1, okay, which is the highest rating you can get for your fire rating. Because of that, our residents and our business owners enjoy the lowest possible insurance rates because we are ranked among, there's thousands and thousands of fire organizations in North America. We're one of only like 430 that's an ISO 1. And so it's pretty rare. And honestly, 5 or 6 of us in Johnson County are ISO 1s. And so that's great because it helps keep our insurance costs down, right? But the bad side of that is, in order to meet some of those, they really like to see an aerial and an engine sitting next to each other, which is why I have an aerial and an engine sitting at Martway, and I have one down on the other end of the district at 23s, because it gets us extra points and it saves our taxpayers money. But now, when we have the opportunity to run lighter, more nimble units, we'll do that. Sure.
Wanda?
My question is just organizational. So you have a board and it's comprised of how many people?
Thank you for asking. I have a board of trustees. There are 7 members on the board. We serve 8 cities. And so traditionally, what we try to do is get representation from each city, and some of the smaller cities alternate appointments. And so that board is appointed by 2 different people. So the first district commissioner, Becky Fast, appoints 4 of those board members on a rotating basis. And Chairman Mike Kelly appoints 3 of those people on a rotating basis. And that's how our 7 members are comprised. Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else? Well, thank you, Chief.
Would you mind if I ask, Sarah, do you have anything that you'd like to ask? Add? Okay, I just want to make sure, Sarah. So y'all have seen Sarah. She's going to be back with me. So that's what the other thing that's really cool is that my board members are super supportive and they want to be involved. And so Sarah has said, hey, you know, when you go to the city of Mission, I'm happy to go with you and help represent the fire district. And so you'll see more of her.
Thank you, Sarah, for helping out. Thank you.
And I actually saw a presentation earlier today from Chief that gave a really nice overview of the history of the district and some of these organizational pieces. And so I've asked him to share that, and we'll share that out with you because I think it provides some context that we forget to bring everybody up to speed on at times.
And I'll be happy to share my contact information when we send that out. So if you have any questions as you go through it, I would be thrilled to address those for you. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Okay, we have 2 items coming from the Planning Commission this evening. The first is for consideration of a special use permit for temporary storage and off-site parking at 5701 Rowe Avenue. Mr. Scott, will you please make your presentation?
Okay, thank you. The Planning Commission met just a few weeks ago, March 23rd. They had 2 items on the agenda. The first was a request for special use permit for temporary storage at the Johnson County wastewater pump station at 5701 Rowe Avenue. So go ahead. That's the site. Probably you wouldn't even really notice if you drove by. So it's on the east side of Rowe between Johnson Drive and Shawnee Mission Parkway. And it's actually in Mission. So it's just the very, very eastern tip of Mission. And it's been there since the 1950s, been approved here and there. But their intent is to make long-term improvements to that pump station. And just to kind of step back a little bit, they are making a number of improvements to their overall system that serves Northeast Johnson County. I was looking for a map today. I couldn't really find one, but there are several facilities. The most obvious one is the Nelson Treatment Plant at the end of Knoll Drive, now kind of Fox Ridge, Lamar. And if you haven't been by there lately, it's all torn up. They're completely rebuilding that entire treatment plant from beginning to end. But in doing that, they're also making a number of improvements to other facilities. So we actually have 4 facilities of Mission alone. So we have the treatment plant, we have the Rowe pump station, we have another pump station, a smaller one on Martway behind the lanes, and then we have one up at Fox Ridge. And again, facilities you probably wouldn't even notice if you drove by. There's one on 75th and Knoll, kind of looks like a house. Again, you wouldn't notice if you drove by. There's one at B. Linder, which is kind of the subject of this particular request. And then maybe 2 or 3 more. So they're making improvements to all of these facilities throughout Northeast Johnson County, all kind of an effort to upgrade aging infrastructure and to add capacity to the overall system. So they had started with this, they came and made a request to us back in 2021. And then once their preliminary development plan was approved and their plat was approved, they actually acquired the property from KDOT, so they now own that parcel of property. They began to analyze the overall improvements they were doing and decided others kind of ranked a little bit higher than this one. This is still a relatively good pump station. It's working well. They also need this pump station to operate when they take other ones offline. So it's kind of a sequential order to all these improvements. So anyway, back to the request for this particular situation. They are making improvements to the Belinder pump station, which is at Belinder Road and State Park Road. That is a very small site. That's just right around half an acre, maybe a little bit more. Given the fact that they're going to be making all these improvements to that site, there's nowhere to store materials or equipment or for the construction workers to park. So they had asked if they could do that at this site. Wasn't real crazy about it, but I said, I suppose so, but probably the best approach would be to do a special use permit. So we go to the next slide. The special use permit section of our zoning code is not well written. So we, special use permits, typically, we have a zoning code that identifies particular designated land uses throughout the city, residential, commercial, and allows for identify permitted uses within each of those districts. And we kind of laugh about that because with commercial, it's discotheques and telegraph offices and meat lockers and things like that. Very out of date. But then there's this one section kind of buried at the back of the code that says designated special uses. And it's things like cemeteries and sanitary sewer systems and big dog kennels and some other things, nurseries, kind of odd uses. And that's not really the way modern zoning code works. And hopefully when we update the code, it'll reflect more of a table in each of the zoning districts that lists the permitted uses outright, and then permitted uses that are allowed with a special use permit that has certain conditions on that use. But so it's more defined for that particular district. But this is what we have for now. Go to the next slide, please. Kind of buried in the language for that particular section of the zoning code for special use permits is some vague language that references temporary uses. So basically says, here are the special uses that we have. And if one of these don't fit, we got this temporary use thing, I have struggled with this because it doesn't really make sense. And I have kind of frankly bent the rules a little bit at times. And I think a great example of that would be the house across the street. They wanted to have a goat on the property that would eat some of the brush along the creek line. What do we do with this? And so I wound up just kind of entering into MOU with the property owner and the goat handler and said, we'll allow it for a week with these conditions, you sign off on it, and we're all good, which they did. It worked out well. The request at Johnson County Wastewater is a little bit different animal, no pun intended. So they want that use for 2 years. So it kind of goes beyond a temporary use into maybe a little bit more of a special use. And these temporary uses we actually handle as a special use permit. So again, it's just kind of it's not well written. It needs to be more clearly defined. I think the new code will actually have a section pulled out just for temporary uses like this. So different from a special use permit, handled in a different manner than we handle special use permits today. So that is essentially what we're doing. We have reviewed the request, which is outlined in the packet and the material they sent. And then we asked them to agree to some conditions in the special use permit, which are outlined in the ordinance. If I can find that.
I have a question.
Oh.
Is there any reason why we shouldn't do it?
No.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions and a thank you. So if I'm understanding their request correctly, we're talking about one lot for parking and one lot for storage essentially?
Yeah.
Okay. And I wanted to acknowledge that they are trying to not unload in the middle of the street at busy times, which I appreciate. And so, thank you everybody for that. No, that was my thank you. The actual question that I have is I see that they're talking about putting in silt fencing, which I think is appropriate, but who's going to monitor the effectiveness of the silt fencing? Because if it catches an extraordinary amount, sometimes they begin to fail. Is that on them? Is it self-reported?
They should be doing that, but we'll kind of follow up with them and
Okay,
do a little inspection of our own.
perfect.
If you bring that slideshow back up and go to that first slide of the site. Yes. Go all the way back to the front. Okay, so what they're doing is they're requesting 2 lots on the property. The one that's closest to Row is gonna be primarily for employee parking. And they'll have a shuttle van parked there. And when the employees arrive, everybody will get in the shuttle van and be shuttled over to the Belinda site. So the shuttle van will probably be parked there in the evenings after hours. The second lot, which is towards Shawnee Mission Parkway at the back of the site, yeah, thank you, is more for storage of materials. And they'll actually have 2 convex container boxes on that lot to store smaller materials, smaller equipment that they can lock up. That kind of green dashed with little green arrows that you see, that's the proposed truck route. So the idea is that the truck would actually, any truck that's delivering materials would actually pull into the site, into that lot, they kind of back up into that second lot, unload, and then pull out again. They're not blocking traffic. They're not going to be on Row. Now, I say that, you know as well as anybody, and we all do, that there's going to be somebody out there with a heavy piece of equipment. Oh, I'm going to pull up onto the sidewalk to park, or I'm going to just put this over here. I'm not going to do anything to, you wind up breaking up the sidewalk and the curb. So that's why we're asking for before photographs. So we want an inventory of the condition as it is now. And then we're asking for a $30,000 surety bond. So if we're asking for a $30,000 surety bond. So if they don't make the repairs, we can pull that surety bond and make the repairs ourselves, and that surety bond will cover it. We own the right of way where the sidewalk is at, the curb and all that. Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, I'm sure Johnson County will repair it, but just in case, we got some protection.
Divvy.
They're also asking for a security camera to be on site. Just if somebody does help themselves with some material over the weekend when nobody's looking, they'll help the police department to be able to identify what's going on and hopefully catch them.
No hazardous materials are involved in this.
No. Fence. Did someone ask about fence?
No, she was saying, I was curious, what led you to suggest that a special use permit was needed here?
Again, it's that structure of the language. So if you want to go back to that third slide.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is what about the industrial park district doesn't allow this use by right?
You
Is it
can't
just a
have
diff-
storage of materials on a site like that. It has to be screened.
Right, they're screening it.
Yeah.
MP allows storage of equipment and materials.
Yeah.
If it's screened. So where what's the special use is my question. Is it just that it's temporary, not paved? I mean,
Yeah,
that
I
would,
think it's more that
Temporary, we have some control over it.
they're not storing materials for work on that site.
Hmm.
It's off-site.
Yeah.
It's effectively off-site storage and parking, which is something that we would regulate.
yeah.
Probably if they were doing work on that. I mean, I would imagine when they do work on their own site, we're not going to issue them
I mean,
a
yeah,
special use permit for
Yeah.
that. So I think it's
think it's-
tied to,
right.
it's not happening
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. But I mean, for starters, I understand it's enough of a gray area and enough of a mishmash of code that we would maybe just want to do it to cover everybody's bases and feel good about it. I struggled to find anything that was like a real bright line, like you couldn't just do this in MP to start with. The other thing is, I'm happy to let them do this in Mission, and I think it's a benefit to the public, to us, and to our surrounding communities. I wondered if did they evaluate any other sites that we know of, especially in the area that this pump station serves, perhaps?
Say the Nelson treatment plant that's already torn up.
Say like, I don't know, the front yard of the Mission Hill City
Well-
Hall that this pump station serves.
They had asked about the Gateway site.
Yeah.
And we
Oh, well.
having the
if they
same
want to sign a
conversation
lease, I guess.
because again, it's offsite storage.
Yeah.
So,
Mayor?
Yeah, I mean, related to Ben's question was my question that I had primarily was why can't they do this at the Nelson? Why do they need to be doing this like in the middle of town and potentially blocking traffic, when they already have an area that's all torn up and has heavy trucking and equipment and everything already? Why does that not work?
that Nelson site is pretty much active all throughout. I don't think there really is an area. for
There's no area,
storage
okay.
And then this is a closed site too. It's an
Yeah.
easy opportunity just to shuttle the employees. You see the map in the packet over to Belinda as
Yeah.
opposed to going all the way down Knoll and going through the traffic. So,
And then I guess the benefit to Mission is that it's helping the overall system. Is that sort of where we're getting our benefit?
yeah.
And then I did have a couple questions. You answered one of them related to the bond in terms of if they damage anything on the sidewalk or roadway. But I also noticed there weren't any stipulations regarding hours of use. Would our regular like construction hours apply, or is there
We
anything
have
to
language
control
in
for
our
that?
code that stipulates hours for construction activity. I don't really envision them doing anything that's gonna be really loud. It's just gonna be materials and parking, basically.
Okay, Debbie?
No lithium batteries being stored there? for
No.
sure? We know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any more questions from the committee or the public? Okay, hearing none. Our second item coming forward from the Planning Commission tonight is for consideration of the Rock Creek Corridor Study Phase 2. Mr. Scott, will you please make your presentation?
Okay, we started this project last summer, kind of late summer, early fall. This is a study of the Rock Creek corridor from essentially Woodson Road west to Metcalf. And it complements a study that we did a few years ago from Woodson going east to Roland Drive. Like the study that was done a few years ago, this study was funded through a Planning Sustainable Places grant from MARC. We ended up utilizing the same firm for this study that we did for the first study, so they were very familiar with the work that had been done, and it was just kind of an easy application to move into the second phase. We had a number of engagement events. We had a walk and roll event, kind of the first, I think probably first week of October. That was very well attended. We also had some engagement opportunities with some of the residents around the area. We visited with the folks from Mission Square one day, as well as the neighborhood that's kind of there behind Hy-Vee and Target. Didn't get a whole lot of turnout from either of those events, but it was good to kind of hear from those folks nevertheless. We also had a web page that we created. We got a lot of traffic on that web page. Through that process, we gathered together a lot of information, and we shared that with a steering committee that met about 3 times. Both Councilor Choisy and Councilor Carpenter Davis were on that steering committee. We had a representative from the Planning Commission and the Parks and Recreation Commission as well that attended one of those meetings. So through that process, the consultants were able to develop a couple of different concepts that we presented back to the public at an open house in February. That's concept 1 and concept 2. And concept 1 kind of takes a little bit more of a conservative approach to the trail in terms of just kind of utilizing a spot there on Barkley, sort of at the southern side of Barkley as a potential pocket park on some land the city already owns, making some improvements to the trail as it kind of goes around and goes by the county property, and then following that traditional path of going up to Lamar, down Martway to Woodson. Concept 2 takes a much more, I'll call it aggressive approach, make some more enhancements to the trail, including identifying a spot on the Target parking lot as a potential future site for community events, whatever placemaking, whatever that may be. And then taking that trail once it crosses Lamar, taking that off of Martway and sort of following the creek all the way to Woodson. So that gained a lot of popularity at the open house. A lot of people really liked that. So concept 3, which is in your packet, is really kind of a blend of those two. It's a very similar approach to what we did with the first phase, where we had 2 concepts, then we kind of took comments from the public on each of those concepts and blended it into concept 3. So that is really kind of it. John Moore, the consultant from Wilson Company, will be here on the 15th. So he'll give you a formal presentation on the study. He's got a great PowerPoint with lots of details and maps. I'll ask for a bigger map for you, Mayor. And then he'll be able to answer a lot of the questions and talk a lot more about the engagement process we went through. I will say this, much like the first study, it's very organic. So I think, a lot of times when we think about studies, we think about, okay, we're going to do step 1 in year 2026, and we're going to do step 2 in year 2027, and step 3 in 2028. It's not a linear plan. It presents ideas that could be applied throughout the corridor as funds become available through grants or as opportunities arise. And it's really kind of a way to incorporate these ideas into our capital improvements plan. So, Taylor and I are participating with Stephanie and Brent when they're developing their capital improvements plan for road improvements. Let's look at these studies and see what the studies say, and there's opportunities to kind of combine those two. It also provides us a little bit of an opportunity to leverage with developers. And a great example of this is that when we were talking with the folks at Mission Beverly, the Millhouse team, about the plat, we asked for a dedication of a public access easement along the very western edge of that property on the south side of Martway. And that essentially is going to provide a pathway in the future from Martway and from the community center to Anderson Park, if we ever get the opportunity to get a bridge across the creek. So that kind of sets us up. So again, it's nice to have a plan that we can kind of refer to and say, we would like to have this to help carry our plan a little bit forward. Happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from the committee or the public?
Thank you. I'm excited here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our first action item this evening is the acceptance of the meeting minutes from Robin Fulks.
Thank you. Draft minutes of the March 4th, 2026 Community Development Committee meeting are included for review and acceptance in your packet tonight.
Recommend acceptance on consent.
All right. Our second action item this evening is for consideration of updates to the city's stormwater master plan from Stephanie Boyce.
Good evening. So I come before you today with a recommendation to terminate an agreement with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and enter into an agreement with NEER for a stormwater master plan. And if you remember, back in June of 2024, the city entered into agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers through the Planning Assistance Grant to complete a stormwater master plan. And under this agreement, the city served as the non-federal sponsor, sharing the cost 50-50. Our share was $178,000. So the purpose of the study was to evaluate the city's stormwater system and to identify capital improvement priorities to address deficiencies and to improve system performance. So we have been working with the consultants that were hired through the Army Corps of Engineers on this. And as we got further on into the project, it was determined that there was a significant amount of critical data, specifically rim elevations and pipe depths for about 900 assets. That data gap was substantially large and larger than anticipated when they provided us with the scope of service and would require additional field verification for this specific task order and project that they were working on. So for a few months, we went back and forth with the Army Corps, looking at different options, including proceeding with the assumptions for the missing data, which would result in a lower quality model, conducting that extensive field surveys, which would result in significantly increased costs and schedule delays. We did have some help from Johnson County, who took as-built, which are the engineering plans from previous projects for about 10 years. So they took those as-built and were able to capture some of the missing data, probably 20 to 30%. Really don't have a way to quantify that. And the other option was to rescope the project, which would require a contract termination and then re-procurement, which would probably end up costing us more in the end to scope the project. And then another option was looking at a different path forward. So each of these options presented challenges related to cost, to schedule, and the overall value to the city. And based on the evaluations and discussions between the Army Corps and staff, we determined that continuing under the current agreement was not a viable option. If the agreement with the Army Corps is terminated, the city is eligible to receive a refund of the unused money. I don't have an exact estimate, but it should be around $150,000. The Army Corps is working on getting me an estimate of what that would be. So we evaluated alternative approaches to completing a stormwater master plan. And we identified NEER Technologies as a qualified provider offering a more flexible data-driven solution. With me in the audience is Alongo Thiever. He is the founder and owner of NEER, a local engineering firm here in Kansas City. And he provided us with a scope of work to develop a comprehensive safety action plan that will improve the understanding of the existing stormwater system and its performance, identify system deficiencies and flooding risks, prioritize capital improvement projects, align with current design standards and community goals. Their approach leverages existing GIS or existing data sets, including our GIS assets, our as-built, CCTV, which is the cameraing of our lines, and then any prior studies that we have. So we have a few studies that are out there. Using advanced data, cleaning and integration, hydrology and hydraulic modeling, providing a cloud-based platform that allows for ongoing updates and long-term usability. And what I missed on the bullet point is using some machine learning, and he can answer any questions on any of these. So unlike traditional static reports, this approach provides a dynamic and continually updatable platform tool for allowing the city to refine and improve system data over time. So as we update our systems, then we can update those models as well. So any work that's done to our stormwater system can be updated in this platform. The proposed timeline for NEER's work is approximately 4 to 6 months to complete the data processing, modeling, and delivery of recommendations and an interactive dashboard. NEER has done work for several years here in the Kansas City Metro with local agencies similar in size as Mission, including Raytown. I was there for 3 years, was able to work with Alongo, not so much as I am in this capacity, but he's done great work with them for their stormwater system and for their sanitary sewer system. Let's see. And then, yeah, so due to the significant gaps, the increased costs and the schedule impacts associated with continuing under the current Army Corps agreement, we recommend terminating that agreement and pursuing the alternative approach with NEER. And that fiscal impact is detailed in this report. So again, our share of the $356,000 contract is $178,000. The estimated refund is $150,000, and then the NEER contract would be $65,000. So this approach includes or reduces the overall project cost while achieving the city's goal of developing a comprehensive stormwater master plan, and entering into agreement would allow us to develop that cost-effective, data-driven, and adaptable stormwater master plan that supports our decision-making and long-term infrastructure planning. We have consulted with the Army Corps of Engineers. They have confirmed that we would receive a refund after they do that calculation. Their requirement from us is simply just a letter stating we want to terminate the contract. And I think this provides a more formal way to submit that to the Army Corps of Engineers. So happy to answer any questions. Alongo's here to answer any of the more technical questions.
Okay, Ben, and then
Yeah, thank you very much. This makes a lot of sense to me kind of intuitively. And that's probably the only viewpoint I have is the intuitive one. But when I think Corps of Engineers, I think dams and levees and not pipes and culverts and GIS as much. I'm sure they're perfectly capable of that. Just seems like maybe a bigger hammer than we need in certain ways. Is that kind of directionally the correct thing to think here? Like you're getting into urban municipal infrastructure, right? And seems this proposal is just sort of more geared toward that and more efficient at that.
I have not worked with the Army Corps besides obtaining permits,
Yeah.
in channels. I don't know, Alongo, if you've had more of a working with them, but I would say that is probably more of the track that.
Yeah. Okay.
the
So
time-
the only thing, I think it's a great idea. The only things that it leaves me wanting to ask are, does this change anything in terms of the intelligence and the decision-making that we're able to pull out of this data when it comes to things like federal or state grants or anything like that? And, just thinking about how like kind of cloud modeling, machine learning stuff kind of works. Are we going to be able to still come away with this with like tangible like projects and things we need to work on versus just, a big pile of data? So anybody that wants to speak to those points, yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit more about those things.
Yeah, I mean, short term, I think it will provide us with the same maybe not exactly the same information that we get, but I think it will provide us with that list of risk and future projects. Longo, I don't know if you.
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, it will provide at the end of the study, it will be a dashboard that shows you the neighborhood level flooding and then also the capacity limitations on the underground infrastructure and the open channel, where we need to focus our energy on. So we are planning to develop existing condition situations of the flooding modeling first that entire city can be divided into smaller 100 feet by 100 feet using the elevation data that's been collected by the Johnson County. So it's a very detailed, we call them like a 1D, 2D modeling. We can also simulate what's happening underground, but also we can simulate what's happening on top of the ground. And once we understand the existing conditions, we have a APWA 5600 current, not the proposed one, but at least we can see where the infrastructure is having some limitations from a capacity perspective, level of service, and then we can recommend some projects. And the dashboard will have all the projects that we are recommending and also the dynamic reporting that Stephanie mentioned. So most of the communities now looking at this from a dynamic master plan instead of do it every 5 years or 6 years. So this will kind of helps you kind of understand the entire city, where the bottleneck in the system from a level of service perspective.
Yeah, perfect. That answers the question well. Great. Thank you.
This one might be more for Stephanie. So first, I just want to applaud you for, I guess, the hard work and the background that went into this and kind of thinking taxpayer dollars and being a steward of that. So thank you. When you talk about the data gap for the 400 assets, I guess, is that like existing data that we have just collected over the years? Or I guess, how do we, or was there like a data collection process that we just missed a bunch of?
Yeah. So data is collected in a couple different ways. Well, for a couple different reasons. The main one that we collect data for is for our stormwater management plan through Johnson County. When we assess the condition of our stormwater facilities, it gets input into AIMS, which is Johnson County's system. It's rated, and depending on the rating scale, we can apply for funding. And so we have done different data collections for that purpose. And when we do that data collection, sometimes we don't always gather those assets, like those rim elevation and those pipe depths, because we're looking just at the condition of the pipe to get that rating. So that some of that's missed. We end up getting that information after a project's designed and completed and the as-built are finalized, and that information would be on those design plans. So Johnson County, Brent was able to send Johnson County about 10 years worth of those as-built, and they took the time to gather that information. Why we're not capturing that data generally is time and money. On the front end.
Giuseppe?
Sorry. Yes, I do. I think the mayor actually was next though.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah? Okay. I see that we have a machine learning component in here, and given that we have a substantial amount of information that we feel is missing, like what fail safes are we building in order to make sure that what hallucinations may occur are not something that will have knock-on effects for our residents?
Yeah, so most of the machine learning will be used in this is populating the missing information in the pipe sizes and the invert of the pipe or the invert of the structures, and the rim elevation, which is the top elevation of the structures, usually pulled it from the LiDAR data or the DEM, which is the digital elevation model. The pipe sizes is actually, if there is a 400 pipes is missing pipe sizes, we use a small machine learning model to populate that based on using the City of Mission data sets. So we have look at all the pipe sizes, and then we can look at the neighborhood. We can also look at, we have a lot of data sets we collected over the years, the installation, or the construction year for the building, and then we kind of populate indirectly what's the approximate date of installation for that pipe based on the road construction year. And then we can able to calculate what based on where they are, and we can able to populate the pipe sizes. So it's not like we are using a different model from other data sets. We are using your own data sets to populate that missing
And
information.
so extrapolating from what we already know.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Mayor?
Yeah, my question was similar to Josepha's about the machine learning component. And I think I had sent Stephanie a question on this ahead of the meeting, and she had said in similar projects where you've taken this approach, you've achieved something around 92% accuracy on the data. Is that right?
Yeah, it's anywhere between 85 to 95%,
Okay.
depending on how good your data is.
Mhm.
Based on, I was also helping Stephanie before working on this project on setting up the GIS data before on a small project. So I think you have a pretty good data sets. I'm expecting in the range of 90% based on the data I've seen. But yeah, if you have a good data sets, you can achieve, even higher percentage. Yeah.
Great. And then I still, after several projects, feel like I don't fully understand the difference between the 1D and the 2D modeling, and I'm not sure that I need to for these purposes, but I just want to raise for the group that my understanding is that the 2D modeling will help us be better for future planning and sort of unforeseen levels of increasing extreme rain events, et cetera. Is that right? By doing the 2D modeling, it'll be sort of more future-proofed on the planning side?
Yeah, it's very detailed modeling. So you're on the right path. It's a very detailed modeling. The 1D is think of like a one directional flow. The water is going in one, but in reality, the waters can spread actually 2D, 3D. So we have a better technology in the last 5 years where we can actually look at the city, the entire city, at a very smaller segment. We call like a mesh. It's a smaller, very detailed elevation data sets. Before we just look at only the channel, but now we can look at like the neighborhood level flooding. The 2D is very detailed for the entire city. So to answer your question, I think this will help you to address the neighborhood flooding in addition to the riverine flooding. The 1D is in a sense that we call 1D because that represents the pipe in this case, because typically when you look at the flooding, you look at the surface, you usually ignore the pipe sometimes, but in this case, we can populate the missing information. We can also model the pipe capacity in addition to the surface. So I think when we said in done, I can give a detailed presentation. I think you'll enjoy the difference between 1D and 2D, but at a high level, 1D represents the pipe, and then the 2D represents the surface of the entire city, and we can do very small mesh size, 100 feet by 100 feet, that represents the elevation changes within the city.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
That's great. And yeah, Stephanie did give me a visual on what the LiDAR was, and that was helpful to have an understanding of that piece as well, and getting the elevation piece of that. My other question was related to the APWA 5600, and you said it's the sort of current version, not the possibly soon to be adopted version that
We can
you're
do
utilizing, or?
Yeah, we can do whatever the city wants to do. We've been working on the current standard, not the future, because every city in a different path to adapt. But I also mentioned if the council wants to adapt certain portions of the 5600, we can also incorporate into the modeling. But at this time, I think we are planning to use the current, not the proposed one. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I mean, I think I'm less concerned about that, given that you said this would be sort of maybe an every 5-year exercise. So I assume if the standards change, you'd be modeling to the new standards at that point if we came back in the future to make adjustments.
Yeah, it's very dynamic. Even if you want to do this, refresh this next year or every couple of years, you can do it, So it's very affordable. So you don't need to spend a lot of money to redo the modeling. All the heavy lifting will be already done.
Okay,
So yeah.
great.
Just to piggyback on the APWA 5600. So for others who may not know what that is, the Kansas City Metro chapter of APWA, which is American Public Works Association, has a set of construction specifications. APWA 5600 is specific to the storm drainage system. APWA, in conjunction with MARC, and several communities across Missouri and Kansas, worked probably for the last 1.5 years, 2 years, to revise the specifications for the storm drainage system. It was approved by the membership, the APWA membership, in December at our annual meeting. It has not been adopted the new version has not been adopted by the City of Mission. There's a lot of understanding that small agencies like Mission are trying to get a handle on the costs that are associated to us as a city for future CIP projects, costs to developers. So Johnson County is taking on, I believe, we'll have a subcommittee meeting tomorrow on an economic impact study for these changes, in addition as several training sessions that MARC is going to put on between May and the end of the year. So I anticipate having a better grasp and understanding of the new the new specifications and bringing it forward probably next year for adoption. But, you know, we can look at both combined to see which one would better meet our needs.
Wanda, did you have a question?
My question is that our share was this much. Who was paying the other share?
It was a 50-50 grant from the Army Corps of Engineers, so it was federally funded.
So do we lose the money from?
We lose we lose our portion that's already been spent. So I want to say overall project was about $50-ish thousand, give or take. So our share would be about 25,000. So we don't get that cost share, no. But we get back so this was not a reimbursable grant. We actually had to pay the $178,000
I understand, but so we're not going to get the other half.
No.
But
it was the grant to use the Army Corps and or their
assets.
Well, their engineers that they selected.
And they weren't doing what you wanted them to do. I'm just not understanding where.
No. So there was unknown data going into this, and the data was missing. So we had a lot of data that was missing. In order to capture that data, it was going to be a very expensive cost to the city, increasing our share even more.
Well, you're not the first. When we were in Washington, Miriam was having the very same problem with the Corps. So I'm wondering if that's a systemic problem or.
It's possible.
Oh. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other questions from the committee or the public? Okay, I need 2 different recommendations, one for each item. So I need a recommendation to terminate the agreement with the Army Corps of Engineer regular consent agenda.
I think they both have to be regular.
Okay, so the terminate the agreement will be on the Army Corps. I don't like saying it that way, but anyway. And then the agreement to NEER Technologies for the stormwater data in regular as well. Okay, great. Just wanting to clarify that. Our next action item this evening is for approval of a resolution ratifying the emergency storm drain repair at 6090 Woodson Street, also from Stephanie.
Thank you. Well, if you've been to the front of City Hall, you may have seen a big hole in the front yard. So that we are asking for approval of a resolution ratifying the emergency expenditure with Infrastructure Solutions for emergency storm drain repairs in an amount not to exceed $44,500.05. On Monday, March 9th, a sinkhole formed in front of City Hall, prompting Public Works to investigate. It was determined that there was a structure failure at the bottom of that 60-inch corrugated metal pipe. Staff and Brent obtained 3 quotes for repair and restoration. You see those listed. Infrastructure Solutions was the lowest bidder. We're familiar with their work as they've done additional work in the city, including Rock Creek emergency repairs. And they also performed the 2024 localized storm drain project and some various other water repairs throughout the city. They cleaned and repaired the 60-inch CMP line, and they filled the sinkhole. And now we just need to wait for them to sod it. So it's essentially complete, given the emergency nature of the structure failure and the risk of additional damage to the storm infrastructure. It was in the city's best interest to go ahead and move forward with the repairs immediately rather than delay the work. So, and
Mostly I was afraid they would push me in the hole.
In accordance with section 120.145 of the Mission Municipal Code, the city administrator authorized the storm drain repair work on March 12th due to the potential safety hazards associated with the failed pipe. And so we're now seeking the ratification of the emergency expenditure.
And
I know you've told us probably many times, but remind me, how much CMP do we have left? And I'm prepared for the pain here. Yeah. Too much? Okay. All right, just checking. Thank you for next up.
Yeah. Any other questions from the committee? Josepha?
Mine's not a question, more of a thank you. I see what I think is a new table at the bottom of this thing that has available budget that's in there, all of the related bits and pieces. If it's new, great. If it's not, then
Still, thank you.
still thanks.
It's not new.
Well, extra thanks from past me as well.
May I have a recommendation?
I recommend acceptance on consent.
Okay. All right. Our final action item this evening is for approval of a design task order for the 2027 CARS project from Brent Morton.
Thank you. And to answer your question, I think we're about 65% left CMP, somewhere in that realm. But yes, this is our CARS project for 2027. It is an all avenue 67th to Martway Street. This is more of a maintenance project, but is part of our 5-year capital improvement CARS program. This is a surface treatment, UBAS, which I call it a micro mill and asphalt treatment. It's really sticky stuff. Spot curb, sidewalk replacement, everything out there is in pretty good shape. So it's pretty minimal. This road was full depth reconstructed 2010, 2011, a little bit before my time, but infrastructure is in good shape. So it's due for a new surface and some new striping and just some minor repairs. It's a joint project with us and Prairie Village. Prairie Village is basically owns half the road from Shawnee Mission Parkway to 67th. So it's about a 75-25 split. So construction and design costs about equal out to that perfectly. So the total project estimated cost is $897,634.65. And the design contract cost is $46,118. For these maintenance projects, you just see a big swing in design costs. So we are not surveying that road except for where we're putting in one crosswalk. It's aerials, quantities pulled off that from the AIM system. So there's a big cost savings when we move out of full depth rehab into these maintenance projects and just getting these roads to last a long time for us. So there's big cost savings there. So we're looking for approval with the design contract with Olson and Associates for $46,118. And then we'll have a interlocal once we bid them for everything with Prairie Village to cover those costs. So it's kind of such a small amount, we can just wrap it all up in one interlocal once we're there. Happy to answer any questions.
Go ahead, Debbie.
Debbie?
When the contract is put together, is Prairie Village and Mission both on there?
No, we administer the project. So the interlocal, once we bid the project before we start, that will outline all those costs, because we'll have actual bid costs and everybody will have their percentage. So we'll be able to dial it in at that point.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it just struck me reading this, kind of the scope of work that seems sort of reflexive, kind of routine. And I shared some thoughts with Laura on this. I know we're not going to be doing a ton of things when we're out here doing these maintenance projects, but I think I'd like to maybe talk about how we can get into the habit on these maintenance projects of kind of shifting the scope of work a little more towards, are there things we can do on the cheap while we're there towards our complete streets and like traffic calming goals in terms of, is the striping good? Do we want to, reduce lane widths, add flex posts, any of these like relatively small interventions that might start helping us with some of these, policies and studies that we've got on the shelves. Even something like, the green book's all over these and it has to be, but like some of the NACTO urban street stuff that we would ideally, I think, like a lot of our streets to start looking more like that. To the extent where there's just incremental changes we can make when we're out doing these projects, I'd like to start thinking about how we, kind of shift our standard scope of work to like, let's think about these things and see if there are any just low hanging opportunities, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome.
And I think you'll see more of that, like you said, maintenance project, but we can start incorporating that, but Martway 2028, 2029, and then should know it, 2031. I mean, there's a lot of studies that are dialed into that corridor where you'll see some of those standards start coming into play, as well as on these in the future.
Yeah, those specific corridors, I think are real good to have on the shelf, but just, I think, in 5 years when we're rolling up to the next street that hasn't had a corridor study and we think, gee, maybe we don't need, a two-way left turn lane or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
We can think about what can we pour an island? Can we put a flex post? What can we afford? Maybe it's just paint, maybe it's nothing, but let's at least, ask the questions and have the engineers see that on the scope of work and say, oh, I have to actually deal with that. So.
Yep, we can definitely incorporate that.
Anyone else, committee or the public? Questions? Okay, need a recommendation?
Thank you.
I recommend acceptance on the regular agenda.
Good agenda, okay. All right, we have one discussion item this evening, a presentation regarding new public works, asset management, and citizen portal programs from Stephanie Boyce.
So I am happy to provide an update on the implementation of our Public Works Asset Management and Work Order System, which was funded in our 2025 budget. We'll highlight the implementation process, our training that we went through, the transition to full use, and the citizen portal, which we want to roll out here shortly. Oh, go to the next slide. It's just a quick agenda and the overview and the citizen portal. So on this one, why the need for asset management? Well, for the last 2 years that I've been here and prior to my arrival, we've been keeping track of phone calls and concerns from residents and staff and citizens like this, kind of by post-it note or text message. We do have a log that we keep it in through an Excel spreadsheet. So the need came from this to have one central location for all of our infrastructure data, not just our work order, but our assets as well. It also provides the need was the ability to track and manage work orders in an easier way. So handing off a sticky note to someone in Public Works or a text message, sometimes it doesn't get logged. And then we look at it as a tool to update and monitor our infrastructure over time as well. And then a better data to support our decision-making processes. Alongo mentioned that he did a small project for us. And so he took all of our assets, our GIS assets, that were all over the place between AIMS and consultants that have done work from us and here and there. He took them and created one database so that we can input it into our GIS system. It also takes us from being more reactive to proactive and scheduled maintenance. And then that helps us justify the increase of costs when we need it. The need also for facility management. So not only Public Works is using it, but also our Parks Department. Next slide. So the implementation process. We had a project team that included myself, Brent, Chris, our assistant superintendent, Lizzie, our admin, Josh, our fleet manager, Parks, Penn sat in, and for about 5 months, we worked on the implementation. That included data collection, our build out. So we looked at what our back end would look like and the certain work orders that we wanted, how to build out like different priorities and assignments. We had monthly meetings with our consultant. And in August 2025, we had user testing and 3 days of staff training in person, which was really helpful. On this slide, you can see some of the notes we took on our whiteboard. And then there was a cute little portal that was set up where we could communicate with our consultant. So we uploaded all of our information there. We communicated there. It was one spot to kind of keep everything together. After training between September and October, we had a transition period where we used it, asked any more questions for that kind of warranty period where we were not on where we still had access to our consultants and not the support system. And then in November, we went live with it. And I just want to give a shout out to Lizzie, our admin, who took the lead on this to help keep everything organized and coordinated, everything. She did a great job doing that. Her and Chris really stepped up. So I appreciate both of them. So what we built, this is, the top picture is the map with our GIS data. And included in that data is our trees, our traffic signals, our street lights, our pavement, our storm pipes and structures. We'll be collecting with our new pavement condition index, also our sidewalks and our signs. So we'll be able to input that when we get that. So this, we built out a centralized database where all of our assets are kept and where all of our work orders are kept. So now we don't have that, the sticky notes, the text messages. We have one location that everybody has access to. We have a work order tracking system, again, that everybody has access to. So Brent has a dashboard, I have a dashboard, Lizzie has one. Our maintenance workers also have their own account. So it's one central location that everybody has access to. Everybody can access those work orders. We get real-time updates. So once a work order is completed, it can be assigned to someone else within our department. It's a place where we can track and enter work orders against our infrastructure and our vehicles. It's a place where we can look at preventative maintenance for vehicles, for storm cleaning, for playground inspections. We can do vehicle pre-trip inspection. So before the team takes a vehicle out on the road, they do their pre-trip inspection. If there are any deficiencies, that gets created into a work order, and that goes to Josh, our fleet manager. And then we have that historical record of all of our maintenance, not just for our physical assets, like our streets, but also for our vehicles. If you go to the next slide, the operational benefits include improved efficiency. Again, we have one central location that we all have access to. It can be accessed through the computer, through phones, through iPads. We have better communication between all of us due to being able to see everything in one kind of centralized location. We can assign work orders, we can add pictures, we can add notes and comments. We can assign, let's see, we got winter weather response, again, the pre and post trip, keeping our infrastructure, like our vehicles, in good condition. We can track our labor and resources so we can see how much a call out will cost us. We can see on the map. So this picture right here, you can see the cluster of work orders in one specific location. So we can see trends that will help us look at future preventative maintenance or future CIP projects. And then reporting. So we have the capability to run reports. And that could be on like the number of potholes that were filled in a specific time period. It could be labor costs, material costs. So we have all of that at our fingertips without looking in 10 different locations or sticky notes. And then what's next? We will continue to refine our data. Like I said, we're capturing other data as time goes on. So once we have that data, we'll input that into our asset management program. We can expand our asset tracking. And then we're excited to launch and promote our citizen portal. So I'll go over that in just a minute. And there's always trainings and new stuff to learn as updates are pushed out through the program. Then it's more training and more things for us to learn and figure out how we can implement those and make it more efficient. And so quickly, I'll touch on our citizen portal. So one of the things that drew us to this specific software was that they had a citizen portal. that integrates, similar to our report of concern that's already on our website. It actually integrates those directly into this work order system. So it will be linked on our city's website. It's a simple map-based request tool. If you've ever used any, like KCMO has the 311 or My KCMO app that you can easily submit a request. So the left side is kind of what that login page or update page would look like, where you enter your name, your email, and create an account. And like I said, it interacts with our asset management. So when someone puts in that request, instead of coming to us via an email and then us having to enter it in, it gets integrated directly into our work order management program. The next slide is the dashboard view. So if you're a citizen reporting something, this is what you'll see. You can submit a new request. You can check the status of your past request. You can update your profile to add your phone number. And then we'll have a link that to our city's website. So if they need additional resources, they have that handy as well. This one was a test that I did, and you can see the different dots on the map are my requests. I can't read this, but I think some of them say closed or pending, and I'll walk through what those mean. So on the communication side, when a citizen submits a new request, we will get a notification via an email, which is that picture. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's the email that the citizen gets. Sorry. They will get an email saying that it's been submitted. We'll also get an email on our end, but I'll go over that in just a minute. And then we can respond to it similarly how we respond to our report of concerns right now, except rather than about 6 of us getting an email, it will come to the public works staff. We'll respond in the comment section, and so they'll see the comment like you see on this email. And then when the work order is completed, the citizen will also get an email stating that the work order has been completed. And if they click on that work order link, you can see how it's linked in the email. It will take them to their dashboard. So they will still get communication every step of the way. Internal process. So when a citizen submits a request, this is the email that we see on our end, and it's similar to where we can click on the link and it will take us directly to the work order. When we get to our work order, we can select the priority, we can select the person who it's being assigned to, we can add pictures when we're out in the field, and we can respond to the citizen. So at every step from received, assigned to completed, the citizen will receive an email notification. So we're communicating through the whole process. And lastly, for the reporting, right now through our current report of concern, I think there's about 6 or 7 of us who get emails. So this will cut down on the number of emails that go out, but to keep everybody informed, we plan on exporting and sharing a report that's going to look similar to this. That will have the originator's name, the date that it was submitted, the problem, when it was assigned, the action taken, and the completed date. So we still have a thorough track of the work that's been going on weekly. And I think that's all I have. Any questions?
I have a question. All in favor of modernizing our work order system. Regarding the report of concern form, I know there are concerns on the report of concern form that are not related to public works. So will we basically be having 2 options on that page? If you have a public works concern, you must log into the portal. All others just continues to form. Is that how that will work?
We'll keep the report of concern as it is right now. So the public works will still be on there, but we'll push for our residents and citizens to use the link that's directly integrated. We don't want to take that away from them right now. But I know.
Will the intent be to take it away from them? The reason I ask, filling out that form without logging in will just be the lowest barrier. And so my concern would be that people are just going to continue to use the report of concern form and not use the portal because they don't have to sign up for an account or create anything.
Yeah, so our intent is to respond to that email, letting them know that we have a new system for public works and for future consideration or for future reports to use this link. So once you create a report, a login, you should be able to I know logging is that extra step. But all the information's saved, and then you have that cool little portal and dashboard that shows you where your requests are and the status is. So hopefully that will be enticing to bring people back to look at the
I'm all
map.
for it. I would just take the public works options off the report of concern field at all, like make them log in, but that's,
Yeah,
you know,
I think we have to have a little bit of a transition period.
yes, I agree with that. Yeah.
The questions?
No, go ahead. You indicated photos a couple different times in this scenario. Are we taking photos when we're doing street projects? For example, on Johnson Drive, Water One's been there with giant trucks and there's several pieces of concrete coming up. Do we take pictures ahead of time before an outside entity works on our streets?
For like the right of way, yes.
I mean, they're
Especially for
fortunate
bigger.
because it's in the budget this year to do west of Lamar, but
Yeah, so for the utility work, if we were not going to restore Johnson Drive through our big project, they would restore the street better than it is looking right now.
oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes, we would make them restore the street to specific standards.
Okay, so any photographs you have of anything we're doing will go into this system as well. Is that correct?
These are more of our maintenance, so potholes, street patches, storm work, anything like that. Our bigger CIP project, those project photos are saved more on our shared drive for our project folders. So our capital improvement projects are a little bit different than our work orders and just everyday maintenance.
Thank you.
Mine's just a comment. I just want to appreciate your work on this. As somebody on my day job who has led an implementation of a new software, that's like just the beginning. There's so much buy-in.
Yeah.
And at some point, in some instance, it's like turning the ship, a massive ship. So just want to thank you and your staff's work for all of that. And yeah, thanks.
Thank you. And the team's been really great in taking this on and testing it and using it. So we got a lot of room for improvement and we'll get there, but it's a work in progress.
Anyone else? Comments from the public? All right.
Thank you.
Stephanie and Brent, thank you so much for all your work and everything you do. Okay, before we adjourn, Ms. Smith, are there any department updates for the Community Development Committee?
I think Stephanie do you have anything else you wanted to add? Other than every road is under construction and Mission right now.
Yes. I just want to thank you and our citizens for their patience during this time. Water One has conducted their work out on Johnson Drive. We'll have a little bit of a reprieve out there. Gas company, I think, is slated to mobilize on the 14th. So you got a 2-week reprieve. And then Martway, as you can tell, is under construction, and I'll provide updates as that moves along. So just thank you for your patience, and we have some short-term inconveniences for longer-term solutions. So thank you.
Did you want to share about Bunny Extravaganza? Please.
Pseudo Parks and Rec tonight. So during our communications team meeting this afternoon, I asked about information related to a rain out for Bunny Extravaganza, which looks like probably will not be needed. Earlier this week, it looked like it would definitely be needed. But the Parks and Rec team will make a determination either late tomorrow or early Friday as to if the event needs to be changed. It won't be a date change, it'll be a location change. So it'll be moved to the community center. We've thrown together some preliminary communication plans to get that out to the public and to the media if that does happen. And then my other two updates are our World Cup Business Forum on Tuesday at the Community Center from 8:30 to 10. We'd love to have you all join us. If you can't be there, I know you all have jobs and commitments outside of council, but please encourage business owners, in Mission or managers of businesses that you frequent in Mission to attend. I'm hoping to do some outreach tomorrow, boots on the ground, hand out some flyers at businesses, especially near the transit center, just to try and get the word out a little bit more about the business forum. And then citywide cleanup and our pancake breakfast on April 25th. You guys are all registered, but again, spread the word for us so we can make sure we have lots of hungry folks and cleanup interrupters around the city. Thank you.
The only other thing I would add, I do believe we have a representative from 7 Days here. And so Robin's going to go retrieve our proclamation from the last meeting. And while she's doing that, you should all have World Cup scarves at your places, and a sticker and a tattoo. So in case you want to put that on your cheek and get yourself in the spirit, where I don't know how many days. What?
That's
Oh,
what I thought it was too.
oh, no, they're tattoos for the kids, but who's not a kid at heart? We also, if you would oblige us, we would love for you to take a scarf out, put it around your neck. We've got a couple of soccer balls. Take a group picture just to give us something to help do some promotions as we prepare. We've been meeting with, Stephanie, stood in for me with a meeting with Johnson County Transit at the Transit Center earlier today. So we're working through some of the specific details related to restroom facilities and doing a lot of really internal logistical planning right now, thinking about inclement weather plans and all sorts of things that hadn't crossed our mind until we all sat down and started to think about it. So it's coming fast and furiously, and we'll share, again, not a lot of details. We know that the route will be running through our transit center the days that FanFest is open, but we still can't get anybody to commit to hours for us. We're trying to get some of that sort of pinned down so we'd be able to share that with the businesses next week. But we will keep at it and keep you updated as we have that information. And I think that's all we have for department updates for either this meeting or the Finance and Administration Committee meeting.
Thank you, Laura.
So we're going to have our 7 Days representative come up. Is that the plan? Yeah. And yeah, and I apologize. I think we had a confusion about the last meeting start time. And so thanks for being patient with us here tonight.
Okay, this is Stephanie from 7 Days. So we will once again be a 7 Days supportive city, and Mayor Flora issued that proclamation at our Mountain Park Council meeting. But we had some miscommunication about our start time. So Stephanie's here tonight, and we're going to give her that proclamation formally. And then if you all wouldn't mind joining her for a photo so we can promote Mission being a kindness city in April.
Stephanie, did you have anything you wanted to share?
I just wanted to thank you all for the city of Mission for being a kindness city. I'm representative from the board of directors for 7 Days. I don't know if you're familiar with the organization, but our mission is to overcome hate through education and dialogue. And we have a kindness breakfast on April 23rd. And you're invited to attend. It's at Church of the Resurrection. We still have tickets. I brought some assets too. Here we have some kindness cards and some elementary school kindness book reading list, and also some stickers too, that we have our kindness youth leadership team. They do a scholarship or a art competition to design these different themes. So
great.
But yeah, sorry for the mix up.
No.
Thank you for letting me say something. I appreciate it.
Glad to have you all back again.
Kindness has no timeline, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kind
Thank
whenever.
you. Yeah.
And did you want to get a photo as well?
Yeah, that'd be great if we could get a photo.
Everybody?
You want everybody?
Yeah.
You can also stay seated, and I can just get you seated. So you're and so I'll have you comment if you'd like a photo with your phone as well. I'm happy to.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to get it.
They need that.
Gotcha. All right, you all know the drill. 1, 2, 3. Kindness. I'm gonna grab one with Stephanie's phone.
I don't know why I did that to you. Don't know.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you all like to take your World Cup photo now? Thank you so much. I'm sorry about the confusion.
Do it now or after? After.
You want to do your Penn United right now or after?
Thank you.
I want to do after FNA.
I don't know why I just made that call.
Loudest person wins.
Okay, it is now 8:26 p.m. and with no further discussion, that concludes the meeting of the Community Development Committee. Again, this video will be made public on our website at missionkansas.org. Thank you.
It is now 8:26 p.m. and I'd like to call this meeting of the Finance and Administration Committee to order. While this meeting is being held in person, we are also offering the option for the public to participate through Zoom if preferred. Instructions on how to attend virtually are included in the City Council calendar item listed in the front page of missionks.org. The public is also invited to participate in the meeting. If you are participating through Zoom, please either add your comment in the chat feature and it will be read out loud, or note that you would like to speak and we will call on you shortly to make your comment verbally. Please remember your comments or questions are visible to everyone in the meeting. If you are part of our in-person group tonight, please raise your hand but stay seated and we will call on you to go to the lectern to make your comment. When you make your comment, please state your record and please state your name and city of residence for the record. Also be conscientious of others trying to speak and speak slowly and clearly. This meeting will be recorded and posted on the city's website at missionks.org. Please contact the administration offices at 913-676-8350 with any questions or concerns. Ms. Folks, please call the roll.
Hayden Chomposi. Here. Vaughn.
Here.
Ryard.
Here.
Camosa.
Here.
Kring.
Here.
Schmid.
Here.
Carpenter Davis. Here. Josie.
Here.
First item of business tonight is public comment. Is there any member of the public who would like to comment now on an item not on our agenda tonight? Please note public comments are limited to 3 minutes. I do not see anyone in person. Is there anyone online? No. Okay. We have no public presentations this evening, so we're going to move into our action items. Our first action item this evening is the acceptance of the meeting minutes from Robin Folks.
Yes, thank you. Draft minutes of the March 4th Finance and Administration Committee meeting were included for review and acceptance in your packet this evening.
Thank you. Did anyone have any questions or comments regarding the minutes? No. Consent it is. Thank you. Our second and final action item this evening is for consideration of amendments to the city's common consumption area map, also from Robin Folks.
Yes, thank you. So as many of you know, the city maintains a common consumption area centered in downtown Mission. And the common consumption area is a tool offered by the state of Kansas to allow for somewhat easier alcohol sales with the city taking the lead and some of the responsibility for that. The way the common consumption area works is the city passes an ordinance or a resolution and identifies boundaries of the common consumption area. Currently, our common consumption area works perfectly and allows the market to function along with including our local breweries every week. But unfortunately, it does not extend to where the market's temporary new home is going to be at Broadmoor Park. So some research and some questions to the state folks and some questions to the city attorney yielded the results that we could definitely amend our common consumption area map that we have now to stretch down Johnson Drive and incorporate Broadmoor Park. Unfortunately, it was not an option for us to draw a new common consumption area. A city can maintain more than one. Unfortunately, the boundaries of the common consumption area have to touch or be immediately adjacent to the vendors who might be allowed to participate. And there was no way for us to make that work with Sand Hills and Rock Creek at Broadmoor Park. So you'll see a very wonky map in your packet as Exhibit A to my ordinance. And it essentially just takes our regular common consumption area, which is the large section that's kind of goes like this, and adds a very thin line down Johnson Drive that really doesn't add any businesses or anything into it, up Broadmoor to encompass Broadmoor Park. Once the market is complete, the work at the market site's complete, the market moves back to its home, we can amend this again to just go back to our normal common consumption area map. But this is what I have to present for you tonight.
Thank you, Robin. Any comments or question regarding the map? Yes, Mayor.
I just want to say it looks like a gerrymandered congressional district. So
It does.
nicely done.
You are so not the first person to
Yeah.
tell me that. And yes, it does. And I hope it's one time I ever have to listen to that.
Gerrymandering for beer. So
That's right.
right.
For the good of our beer sellers in Mission, it seemed like a good way to do it.
Any other questions or comments regarding the map?
Thank you, Robin. Good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Can I get a recommendation on this, please? Consent. Thank you.
Thank you.
We do not have any discussion items tonight. Ms. Smith, are there any department updates?
I did forget two things. So just a reminder that Royal Shine Car Wash, which is the refurbished car wash where Diamond Finish was previously there on Martway across from Sonic, is having their ribbon cutting on April 8th at 4:30 p.m. So that's been on the calendar. And then we learned this week that we are going to have a heart in this year's Parade of Hearts. And they want to place it kind of in the grass across the street, even though we won't be having the market at the market site up close. It's really technically cap-fed property across from Urban Prairie Coffee. So we don't know what our heart will look like. We don't know exactly when it's going to be delivered, but sometime soon. And it will be here through August. So that was kind of exciting news.
Great. This is exciting. Well, if there is nothing else, it is now 8:31 p.m. and seeing no further discussion, that concludes the meeting of the Finance and Administration Committee. Again, this video will be made public on our website at missionks.org. Thank you.